Hi everyone. Today we're going to be discussing third-party code. And by the end of this presentation, I hope that you will have a basic understanding of what third-party code is, where it comes from, why we use it, how we use it, and the dangers that it presents. And finally, the ways to solve those dangers and limit the threats that third-party code provides. So the sections we'll be covering first, as I said, we're going to be going over what third-party code is, how we use third-party code, ultimately the dangers that third-party code presents, companies and individuals that are at risk, and our Duke University's project with the Media Trust Company, and how to reduce the risks of third-party code. So before we get into third-party code, I cannot stress enough that you are vulnerable to an attack. All internet users are vulnerable to attacks. If you use the internet, then your computer is completely open to hackers and people tracking your personal data. This can come from an array of different sources. However, an especially dangerous avenue of attack is from third-party code. Data brokers, fraudsters, and other bad actors can use third-party code as a vector to target vulnerable people and companies. And that is the scariest part of this, is that most of us have never see third-party code until we've been attacked. And even once we're attacked, a lot of that third-party code that is on consumer-facing websites and on your computer is invisible. So now, hopefully I've scared you just a little bit, because yes, it is scary. We are vulnerable to attacks all the time just by being on the internet. But what exactly is third-party code? Third-party code is reusable software developed by external entities, or a third party. And simpler third-party code is computer code written into a website that is developed by an outside company whose website it's on. Once a third-party code is developed out of house, this reusable software is then purchased via open source licenses or by companies or software vendors, and it results in greater ease when creating websites, running advertisements, or tracking analytics. In fact, 65 to 95% of code found in consumer-facing websites, think Amazon when you go shopping, or your local news page, is third-party code. In fact, the Media Trust ran a test in 2021 and found that third-party code was executing on websites at around 90% through 6 months period in 2021. So what does third-party code look like on a web page? Take a look at this diagram. You can see that third-party code can be anything from analytics running in the background to chat widgets, ads, embedded video players. All these functions make it easier and cheaper for a company to purchase and then embed into their website, as opposed to taking time to write the code themselves. Here's an example of third-party code on a local news page. So you can see that there are embedded videos, you have advertisements popped up across the screen, and those advertisements are almost always third-party code and go through very little vetting. And so this is only what we can see. A lot of third-party code and cookies are running in the background and are actually invisible to the naked eye because they're behind what is actually happening on the website. Now that we've seen what third-party code is, why do we actually use it? What is the purpose of it? Why do we need it? First, third-party code is regularly found embedded into websites and website designers. Can be found in external applications, and this includes things such as ads for targeted advertising. It can include convenient managing systems, entities that help easily run websites and create websites such as WordPress or Weebly, and even data managing platforms. And is also regularly used to help companies quickly develop websites. As I mentioned earlier, third-party code can come in the form of software plugins, video and image libraries, payment technologies, and chat platforms that all allow companies to take this already coded program and embed it into their website with ease. So what are the biggest uses of third-party code? First, as I mentioned before, website development. The main functional purpose of third-party code is it makes it easier on developers trying to create websites. Instead of recording outside functions, developers will take third-party code packages that contain already developed functions and simply add them onto their website. This shortens the time website developers need to create websites, and like I said before, it can include things like software plugins, video and image libraries, payment technologies, even chat platforms. The second big use of third-party code is advertising. Digital advertising is a $616 billion industry that is reliant on third-party code. Website owners sell advertising spots, which allows third-party code to enter their website domain. Usually this outside code enters through the advertisement spots. Think on the local web page I showed you, you saw advertising spots at the top and bottom. These spots contain the ad information and often contain third-party cookies, which are then used for targeted advertising. Third-party cookies are present on most web pages and allow owners of the cookies to track users' actions across the internet and in turn provide targeted ads. Luckily, third-party cookies are soon to be disabled on platforms such as Chrome, which has announced that they will not allow third-party tracking using cookies on their platform by 2024. So here is a visual of how advertisers use third-party code. So you can see on the diagram, you have your advertiser, and then you have your third-party ad server. So what the third-party ad server does is it sends the advertiser's information to embed it into all of these different advertisement spots on different websites. And as you can see, it is useful for advertisers, it's useful for website developers. There's also some danger around third-party code. Like I said, although beneficial, third-party code can have a dark side. Third-party code is virtually undetectable when visiting a website, and we don't know if it's there or not. Think when you visit a website, you're not looking for third-party code. You don't notice it's there unless you already know that third-party code is present in that website. And since website developers did not make the code, there's no way to really know whether or not it's reliable. It's very possible for third-party code, for bad actors to infiltrate that code unaware to both the advertisement server, to the company, and to the individual on that website that there is a bad actor infiltrating that third-party code. Using third-party code leaves websites vulnerable to attacks. These types of malware attacks can lead to things such as company data leaks, stealing of consumers' data, including name, email, phone numbers, banking information, credit cards, all your personal identifiable information, and even unwanted downloads or computer viruses. And all this can be detrimental to both the consumer and to the company, as neither of them realize it's happening. Actors can even get access to companies' systems and platforms, which can do an extensive amount of damage without even going noticed. So I've just described to you the dangers, but how do malicious actors actually use third-party code? Malicious actors tend to insert their own, often undetectable code into a third-party system. Third-party system then delivers the code straight to the website. That can be a company's website for development, a chat feature, or advertising, or all of the above that were mentioned earlier. In this diagram to your right, you can see that it is demonstrating how an attacker uses an advertising service to gain access to other websites. In this case, the attacker compromises a third-party advertising service using his skimming code. This code goes undetected by the ad system, which then delivers that bad code unbeknownst to the e-commerce websites. From this website, customers believe it's safe, unwillingly provide their payment data, which is then taken from the bad actor's code. So in that case, it seems like the customer is the one being targeted and inherently hurt. However, it is unclear that the company can also be affected. Individuals are not the only ones at risk. Companies can often be compromised by bad third-party code as well. Companies tend to have little control over the third-party code content. As I said before, they do not build the code. They do not know whether or not it's reliable, and so when they purchase that code, they're trusting that it is, but oftentimes it might not be. They are at the mercy of the code writers to remain credible, or of the code writers to have done enough background research to know that there's no bad actors within that code. It is also really difficult once a problem has been identified. It's difficult to fix the issue or fix leaks because if there's a lot of third-party code, it can be difficult to reach the writer of that third-party code to have that problem fixed, or honestly to identify where the problem is coming from. As you can see in the diagram from 2016 and 2018, the amount of organizations that have experienced a third-party data breach is increasing, and it's a relatively high percent. The dark blue are organizations that have experienced a breach, and the light blue are organizations that are prepared to reduce third-party risks. As you can see, there's a lot more attacks going through than there are organizations prepared to receive such attacks. So both companies and individuals are at risk, and oftentimes third-party code is not regularly updated. As I said before, it's up to the code writers to do that, and it is up to the code writers to remain credible. And if they're not updating their code, that means it's very easily for bad actors to infiltrate it and have access to companies and individuals' data for long periods of time. In fact, it takes on average 287 days for companies to identify a third-party breach. And in that time, an unknown amount of data can be taken, both from your company and from your consumers, which is bad for business and bad for everyone. Duke University and a company called the Media Trust have been working on a research project to study the impacts of third-party code. Since the beginning of July 2022, Duke and the Media Trust, which is a private cybersecurity company, have worked together to study the impacts of undesired third-party code on internet users. Our studies analyzed scans done by the Media Trust on 3 separate servers. First is Duke University servers, second is Google Fiber servers, and third is Spectrum servers. From October 2020 to February 2022, the Media Trust has reported 9,581,000 hits on Duke profiles and around 18,379,000 hits on the work from home profiles, which include Google Fiber servers and Spectrum servers. The name of this project is called the Privacy and Democracy Project, and it tracks scans or evidence of bad actors acting in the background. So this activity can include things such as malicious redirect, suspicious software installed prompts, scans, phishing, impression, click fraud, compromised content, and cloaking. There's others as well. This is a general list, and these are all ways that bad actors are involved with these profiles that we are scanning. So over the 2 years, the project team has noticed some significant trends and risks within the data. First, during the summer months, attackers proved to be the most active. We see a large increase in hits on our scans during those months. Software installed prompts and malicious redirects are often the most common avenue of attack. Scams are most common in terms of unique incidents, and single websites could be responsible for over 100 separate attacks. This is why scan totals are larger than the unique scans, because a unique scan is simply if the website is attacked multiple times, that's still one unique scan. Attackers are targeting work from home profiles as well at a much higher rate than Duke profiles, which makes sense because we're doing a lot more from our home than students are while at school. So here are a couple graphs that represent the data This shows the trend of total incidents. As you can see, during the summer months, an enormous peak, and then as we get into into the next year, summer months as well, you start to see that increase happen again. Next, these shows are total incidents by type, and as you can see, software installed prompts and malicious redirect are the highest, with scams coming in next. Obviously, that is pretty similar between our Duke profiles and our work from home profiles. Next, these are our unique incidents. These are individual hits, and so these show, again, the trend over time. You can again see the increase in summer months, and a dip more in the spring months. It happened less this last year, however, there's still some indication of that trend occurring. Finally, for our unique instance by type, you can see that scams have skyrocketed, especially for our work from home profiles, as well as our software installed prompts. You can also see what seems to be a decrease in our Duke profiles, however, it's simply because we are not counting repeated attacks on the same server. Data brokers are another group that take advantage of third-party code. Data brokers are individuals or companies who make money off of buying and selling people's data. In fact, in 2019, it was a $232 billion industry about selling your data. And third-party code developers can track personal data and use it as data brokers and sell it to data brokers. This especially comes into effect with targeted advertisements, where third-party advertisers track where you click, what websites you visit, through cookies, and give you targeted ads, or sell your information to data brokers, which sell it to who knows where. And data brokers often attack elders or people with mental health issues. In fact, for a specific example, data brokers use third-party code to target elders. As you can see, attackers and data brokers are using third-party code and often target elders. It's kind of all connected. So elders are often, as we know, less digitally savvy, and tend to fall for scams. So data brokers do things like create lists of groups of elders who they know are digitally less savvy and will sell that to attackers. And there's been a reported $1.7 billion in losses through elder scams. And as you can see, as you get older, there are more losses. And it's a sad reality, but it is happening. So there's been a lot of discussion about what third-party code is and its dangers, who it attacks, data brokers, elders, but how can companies and individuals protect themselves from the dangers of third-party code? And so it's important to limit these. First, that can be through website operators and internet infrastructure providers, and who need to start detecting and removing malicious third-party code so it's not available for purchase. There needs to be more prevention instead of simply protection, being proactive versus being reactive. Act from the company's side and protect your customers. You can't solely focus on your own code. You have to focus on third-party code. Obviously, you can use less third-party code. And finally, providing stricter guidelines for those who create third-party code, as well as for companies to regulate what third-party code they use, can all help to decrease the amount of attacks and help your consumer. We can also thoroughly scan third-party code, as I said, for potential evidence or bad actors. We need more regular scanning, whether that comes from the company, from the people writing the code, or some sort of regulation. It needs to happen. We need to work closely with third-party code creators so they understand that the quality of code is up to standard and that they're not allowing bad actors to infiltrate their code unknowingly. We can also host third-party code directly. That prevents changes from being made. And lastly, we can educate internet users and companies that third-party code is out there and it's a risk. It's necessary for us to start acting proactively and using some sort of active defense against third-party code and against bad actors who utilize third-party code. Firewalls and protection are good and stop some attacks, but they don't actively reduce the number of attacks. In using a sort of active defense, we can get back at the people who are constantly attacking us. It's defending yourself by going back into a space where the attack is coming from and stopping that. A lot of companies, once they're attacked, are understanding of where that attack has come from. They can shut down access to third-party code, and you can eliminate the avenues of attacks. Most companies have information on where this is coming from, and shutting it down is the best way to reduce and eliminate that avenue of attack from being used again. For example, shutting down dangerous sections of third-party code. If you get a hit that third-party code has delivered malicious code to a consumer, go and shut that avenue down. We need to shut down these paths, especially through advertising or code that we have brought in from other third parties. Active defense is a way to turn them off. If we can shut down avenues of attack, we can reduce the attacks coming in. Not only for companies, though. Individuals can do this as well through things such as proxyware. So it's not fully on the company, but it should be a collective effort to stop third-party attacks from happening. So in conclusion, although convenient, third-party code does provide some dangers. We need to be cautious of the threat, and companies and consumers alike need to be aware that this is happening, and it will happen again. We need to be ready, whether that's through active defense or through putting tighter regulations or through everything that I mentioned before this. The threats of third-party code must be fixed to protect internet users, especially from falling to these mostly invisible bad actors. We don't see it coming, but it is there, and something needs to be done about it.